Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I am filming, as you can probably tell by the title, a little bit of a back to school video. Originally this was just going to be like a back to school tips and tricks, sharing some of my like organizational hacks and study tips and things like that. But as I sat down to film this video, I came across one of my old blog posts from 2016 when I had just transferred to the University of Guelph, and I wrote out all of my like best study tips and organization hacks. And reading through this now, 3 years later after I've completed my undergrad, I was dying laughing because most of those things were actually horrible advice, and a lot of them I actually didn't do again after like my first semester at Guelph. So I sincerely apologize if anybody took that advice in that post because it was very bad. So I've since edited the post. I've left it like I've left my old horrible advice in there, but then I've added in anecdotes being like, hey, this is an update, I actually didn't do this, or I did this instead, because I thought it was funny to see the progression of like how things changed over the course of 3 years. I'm also drinking coffee because it is so early and I never film in the morning, so sorry. Actually, I also stole this coffee mug from our school pub. Sorry, I really liked it and I go there way too often and I love their coffee mugs, and one day I was like, I need one, and so I plotted for like weeks to steal one and I have one. Hopefully they're not watching. So I want to kind of, rather than just give generic advice, talk about a few things that I learned. And so I learned these things the hard way so that you don't have to. So hopefully if you're just starting university, this is helpful. You can learn what not to do, what to do instead, and how to make your life way easier so you don't have to do all the trial and error that I did. I'm useless without coffee. I'll give you a little bit of history in terms of like my academic background for anybody who's new here or doesn't know the story. Basically after high school I took a year off from school. I wasn't entirely sure what I wanted to do. My last semester of high school I actually I missed a lot because I had a super bad concussion, so my mindset was like I was not in that educational mindset. I really did not want to pursue post-secondary. I was in like a weird place in life in terms of like having all these concussions. I was a competitive hockey player. Obviously these concussions like prevented me from doing that. They affected my studies. So it was just like a really weird time for me, and I was essentially going through an identity crisis, as most like high-level athletes do when they can no longer pursue the sport that they have been for their entire life. So it was a really weird time for me. I didn't know like who I was without hockey, so I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I decided to take a year off after high school. Admittedly, I did not use my year off as well as I could have. I highly recommend taking a year off after high school. I think it is bananas that we expect kids to make such a massive decision at that age. Honestly, like I said, I didn't really take advantage of the year off as much as I should have, and I wish that I did. I didn't have like an eat, pray, love moment. I didn't have an epiphany. When it came time to reapply to universities, I still had no idea what I wanted to do. I hadn't learned anything, but I didn't really do any like soul searching. I had no idea what I wanted to do. Also, that's perfectly fine. I think that if you don't know what you want to do, I totally support taking a year off, and I totally support going to university and not knowing. I think that there's such a horrible stigma around this idea that you have to have it all figured out, and it's bullshit. Frankly, that's exactly what it is. It is bullshit, because you're not going to know what, especially in academia, you're not going to know what you like and dislike about it until you're in it. Use that first year and take courses in a variety of different disciplines to figure out what you like, because that's exactly how I figured out what was right for me. I think if you can take a year off, do it. If not, use your first year to take a shit ton of electives. That was probably the best thing that I ever did, was just taking different courses from different disciplines, figuring out what I liked. I learned really quickly that I hated taking tests. I hated quantitative analysis, and I'm more of a person who likes to write essays and do social sciences. I never would have learned that if I hadn't just taken the opportunity to feel things out. So basically, after I took my year off, I decided to go to the University of Ottawa. That was kind of like where I always wanted to go. I was really adamant that I wanted to go to school far away from home. I loved Ottawa. I'm a huge Ottawa Senators fan, so honestly that played a huge role in why I went there, which people laugh at, but I'm like, I'm dead serious. Like, the idea of like being able to go to like an NHL hockey game regularly was super appealing to me when I was deciding where I wanted to go to school. So I decided to go to U Ottawa, and like I said, I still didn't know what I wanted to do. So I was enrolled in kinesiology, which is exercise science. Basically, first semester, I failed anatomy, and I realized really quickly that kinesiology was not the route for me. I hated it. I hated like the memorization. Like that's why I failed anatomy. I had so many issues with memory recall because of my concussions that it was just way too much for me to try to remember all the bones in the body, and frankly I just wasn't interested in it. I enrolled in kinesiology because, like I said, I was still in this like weird identity crisis, and I thought, you know, okay, I've always played hockey, let's do something with sports. So what I did in my second semester was I just took a bunch of electives. I knew that I was going to change programs. I hadn't officially changed programs at that point, but I knew that kinesiology wasn't going to work. I took electives in history and in English and an environmental studies course. That class changed my life. Which sounds super dramatic, but it's so true. And I realized that this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to be studying the environment and figuring out how to make the world a better place. So I decided that I wanted to switch into something more environmentally focused. I ended up moving back home after my first year at U Ottawa and transferring to the University of Guelph. I started at the University of Guelph in 2016, and I fast-tracked a lot of my stuff because I didn't want to take 5 years to do my 4-year degree. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. I was just like getting restless. So I took a full course load every semester, and then I also took 1 or 2 courses every summer. So that way I could graduate like at the same time as everyone else in my cohort, which was nice. It was a little bit stressful, but it's an option. I think that summer courses are generally, this is like one thing that I learned, summer courses are generally, I enjoy them. I don't know. I think like I only took them online, so it's never on campus. But like I said, every single summer I took at least 1 online course. 2 is definitely a lot, especially if you're traveling a lot. I know the one summer I took 2 online courses and I was in the Maldives, so like I didn't do well in those courses. But the summers where I took 1 course online, it's totally manageable. And it's just a nice way to kind of like ease up the semester stress, so you don't have to take, like, that way in your 4th year or something you could take a lighter course load. Yeah, I just find it super nice. It's also kind of nice to like stay in that academic mindset. I don't know, I just feel like I personally like being like academically and intellectually stimulated all the time. So like I like kind of having something to do over the summer that keeps me like reading and writing, so that like once September starts I'm not like, how do I do all this again? So take summer courses if you can. That was basically the super long version of my academic history. So yeah, starting Guelph 2016, transferred from kinesiology to environmental governance at Guelph, graduated this June 2019, and next month I will be back at Guelph doing my master's, which is something I never thought I would do. So things definitely change, especially in like the academic world. You're constantly being exposed to like new ideas, new ways of thinking, and yeah, when I started at Ottawa, I hated school, I hated university, I thought it was such a waste of time, and now I'm going back to do a master's and maybe a PhD, who knows. So I've really come to love academia and the challenges that it presents. With that being said, I've learned a lot over the course of these 4 years of switching programs, switching schools, doing well in courses, doing awful in courses. So I want to kind of share what I learned throughout this whole experience. I'm realizing that I've been filming for literally 20 minutes, and I have like all of my notes here of all the things that I want to share, and I haven't said any of them. I've just been talking about myself and all of these random things that I realized I learned. So we're actually going to get into this now, so it's not an hour-long video. Okay, the first one that I'm starting with is going to sound super weird, especially if you're like new to university. You can be like, this is a weird thing to start with. Don't print the syllabus. This was the first tip in the back to school post that I wrote in 2016, was to print all the syllabi for your classes. Don't do that. Literally worst advice I've ever given. I did this for I think like 2 or 3 years at Guelph. I would print all the syllabus off, like look at like all of the due dates, all the assignment dates, like the class schedules, everything, blah blah. And like, I don't know, I was like obsessed with hard copies. Like, it took me so long to transition from just like loving everything online and digital, but I would print off the syllabus. And in my third year, I almost missed a major assignment deadline because the syllabus had been updated online, but I was still referring to the version that I had printed off back in September. And I remember like going to the prof and being like, I am so sorry, like I printed off the syllabus, had the wrong date, like, and basically to ask for an extension because there was no way I was gonna have it done on time. And he was like, how did you have the wrong date? I updated the syllabus online. And I was like, well, I like have it printed and the date on here says this. And he was like, he looked at me legit like I had two heads and was like, never print the syllabus. Like, what are you, like, why are you doing that? So yeah, definitely don't print the syllabus. It's very much like, it's a working document. The profs will update it regularly throughout the semester. If you've been in university for a few years, you know, like, things change, especially like in Canada where we have snow days sometimes. The lecture schedule will get moved, so like tests will get moved, midterms get moved, assignment deadlines get moved, so it's very much a working document. So I promise you that if you print it off in September, like 2 weeks later, it's going to be wrong and outdated. So just rely on the online version, don't print it off. Yeah, you'll be very outdated. That was really bad advice. I'm sorry if anybody did that on my advice, and I hope you didn't miss any deadlines. I feel like everyone gives this advice, but it's actually really good advice. Make friends early. Like, in your first week of class, just like sit down next to someone and start up a conversation. For the most part, like, everyone is super friendly. I also feel like in first year, like, everyone is just kind of in this together. They're trying to figure out like how to navigate this, that like having somebody, like a friendly face to talk to in like a class of 400 people will be so refreshing, and it's so nice. If you make friends early on in the semester, you always have someone to like ask for notes, to study with, to work on assignments with, so it's super nice. And it's just like, yeah, it's just nice to have somebody in the class, even to just bounce ideas off of. Also, make time for things that are not school related. Have a life outside of school. Hobbies, friends, social activities. Make time for your friends and family. It is so easy. Like, university can be super overwhelming, and like there's no time that it stops. Like, I feel like some people are like, oh, like your first year will be super overwhelming because you're just trying to figure everything out, but then it gets easier and you're fine. And there's some truth to that. Like, yeah, your first year is kind of a little bit hectic because you're still trying to figure out like the campus and like how to take notes and how to like write at a university level. But I don't necessarily think it gets easier. I think you get better, like you know now how to like write at a university level, and you know the lay of the land and everything, but the workload only increases. I don't think that it ever really slows down, and there's nothing wrong with it. I just think you need to like be prepared for that, and also be prepared to not let it consume you. And it's so easy for it to consume you. So that's why I'm like trying to give this advice early, because I've definitely been at that point where like I haven't gone out with my friends in weeks, or like I haven't been to the gym in weeks, or like I usually like I play rec hockey now, and like I'll know that it's too, like, that I have gotten too deep into the academic hole when like I've missed several weeks of hockey. So now what I do is I literally schedule these things in. I literally will block out, like I will schedule in all of my hockey games, and I usually like schedule in like an hour after, so that if the guys like want to go for a beer, I have time for that, and I like protect that time. It's like that weekly 3-hour time slot is like my sanity. It's like when I can go get a workout in, like where I can like de-stress, where I can just have like conversation with people that I don't get to see very often and is not related to school. Most importantly, it's so important to make time for those things that are not academic related, like for your own health and sanity. There's nothing wrong with taking a break. Seriously, like if you are constantly like 24/7 like grinding on school stuff, you're going to be so burnt out and so ineffective. Like, it is incredible what can happen if you just like walk away from an essay for 2 hours to go to the gym and come back like refreshed with a clear mindset. So take breaks, like make time for non-academic things. Like, everything will be there when you get back. And also, to piggyback off of that, like take care of yourself. I feel like it is almost like celebrated sometimes in academia to be like, I haven't slept in 3 days, or I only sleep 2 hours a night, and I had 6 Red Bulls today, and that's not cool. I can't stand people like that. People who brag about being so busy or being sleep deprived, I'm like, I'm not jealous, I'm not impressed, I'm concerned for you, frankly. Take care of yourself. I don't know why it's celebrated to live an unhealthy lifestyle as an academic. I think it's so ridiculous. I know, like I said, it's overwhelming, there's always so much to do, but make time to work out and like make yourself healthy food and sleep. Please sleep. 4 hours is not enough. Probably the most important thing that I learned after my undergrad was to get outside of your program and talk to people who maybe aren't experts in your field or who have different opinions about what you're doing. Especially obviously, like, I'm in an environmental program. It is so easy to get stuck in an echo chamber. Like, for the most part, everybody in my program agrees on the same thing. You don't do your education justice if you're just regurgitating the same ideas and the same mindsets and the same philosophies. I didn't really do this until my last year of university, and it was very uncomfortable at first to like talk to people who didn't agree with what I was saying. And I kind of fought back really hard on those ideas, and then I realized that that is everything wrong with this world. Not even just the environmental movement, with this world, that people cannot have different opinions. So just don't be that person who is like, my way or the highway. Welcome opposing ideas. Like, get outside of your program, talk to people in like business and in agriculture, hear their opinions and use it to strengthen your own arguments. You don't necessarily have to agree with them. Like, you don't need to switch sides and change your opinion and go to the dark side or whatever. Like, you can have a neutral opinion, or you can stay with your opinion and use their arguments to strengthen what you believe in. University culture specifically has a really bad habit of supporting this echo chamber and supporting this outrage culture where you can't have opposing ideas, or if you challenge somebody's idea, it's seen as challenging them as a person. And I think that is so ridiculous, the fact that we are like encouraging people to not be critical of ideas. That's like the whole point of academia, is to be critical of ideas. So get out there, talk to people with different opinions and just hear them out. Like, you should be able to hold a conversation with somebody that you don't agree with without losing your mind. I hope that this was like somewhat helpful, or gave you an idea of some of the things that I did wrong at first, some things that I changed, some things that I wish I'd done earlier. Yeah, and hopefully it helps you regardless of like where you're at in your academic career. I hope that you can take some of this and apply it to your own learning and your own development as an academic. And I hope that you all have a great semester or back to school, wherever you're going. Yeah, if you want to see more about the tips that I changed from my first year, I'll link that blog post down below. I also created a super handy back to school guide, which I'll link down below. All you have to do is subscribe to my newsletter and I will email you the freebie. It is 6 pages of like just a bunch of fillable templates that you can fill in right in Adobe, where you can put things like your class schedule. You can create an assignment sheet, which is the one thing that I did all throughout my university career and was a lifesaver. You can put all of your important dates and like set some academic goals. Yeah, it's just really cool. I created it. I think it's pretty cute. And yeah, definitely just something to help you like keep on track and keep your goals in mind and just stay organized throughout what is bound to be a crazy semester. So I'll link that down below. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe, and leave me a comment down below. Tell me if you're starting university this year, if it's your first year or what year you're in, and tell me what program you're in. I love hearing like what people are studying or what they're interested in. So yeah, drop me a comment down below. Let me know what you're studying, where you're studying, what you're excited for this semester, and yeah, let's just chat. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video.